Universalist Church of Bowling Green. Whether you are here in person or online, we are so glad that you are joining us. My name is Jeffrey Strong, and I will be your service associate today. Please set your cell phones to stun. I've always wanted to say that. Or silence, so that we can be fully present with one another. We are a welcoming congregation, whoever you are, however you identify, wherever you come from, and whoever you love. You are welcome here. Our Sunday services are different each week so that we can honor and learn from our wide array of traditions and beliefs. Today, our speaker is Sharon Dittmar. Reverend Dittmar graduated from Harvard Divinity School in 1997. She served 1 year as interim minister at the gathering at Northern Hills, Cincinnati, Ohio, from 1997 to 1998, and 18 years as minister at First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati, 1998 to 2026. In 2016, she began work as congregational life field staff with the Mid-America region, and she's speaking on Married to Amazement. Today's chalice lighting will be by Gail Renfro, a new member. As our congregation's chalice is lit, please light your own chalice at home if you have one, and join in singing hymn 362, Rise Up, O Flame. First reading is in the hymnal number 661, and Tim McGahee was going to read it. Oh. Earth to Tim. Well, I can read it. Let's see, 661.
So is this a responsive reading, Jeff?
Yes. It's The Heart Knoweth by Ralph Waldo Emerson. We have a great deal more kindness than is ever spoken, based with an element of love, like a fine ether. How many persons we meet in houses whom we scarcely speak to, whom we yet honor, and who honor us. How many we see in street or sit within church, whom though silently we warmly rejoice to be with. Read the language of these wandering eye-beams. And the first hymn is 369 in the great 389 in the great hymnal. I hope it's 389.
Here in the mystery of God, gather here.
Sharon Crawford is going to read a picture book for us titled Amazing Grace by Mary Hoffman.
Thank you, Jeff. Our speaker today is going to talk about reflecting back on our life. And Roxanne Spencer and I would like to share with you the story of Amazing Grace, who is just beginning her life in good spirits. So she is investigating what her life will be like. I remember this from when I was a librarian at an elementary school here in Bowling Green. I love Grace. And so when we were looking for something, this was something actually Roxanne recommended. So I am happy to be doing this. Grace was a girl who loved stories. She didn't mind if they were read to her or told to her or made up in her own head. She didn't care if they were from books or movies or out of Nana's long memory. Grace just loved stories. And after she had heard them, and sometimes while they were going on, Grace would act them out. And she always gave herself the most exciting parts. Grace, that's Grace. Grace went into battle as Joan of Arc. And that's her Nana. And wove a wicked web at Anasazi the spider. She hid inside the wooden horse at the gates of Troy. She went exploring for lost kingdoms. She sailed the seas, the 7 seas, with a peg leg and a parrot. Most of all, Grace loved to act out adventure stories and fairy tales. When there was no one else around, Grace played all the parts. She set out to seek her fortune with no companion but her trusty cat and found a city with streets paved with gold. One day, Grace's teacher said they would do the play Peter Pan. Grace knew who she wanted to be. When she raised her hand, Raja said, "You can't be Peter. That's a boy's name." But Grace kept her hand up. "You can't be Peter Pan," whispered Natalie. "He isn't black." But Grace kept her hand up. "All right," said the teacher, "lots of you want to be Peter Pan. So we'll have auditions next week to choose parts." She gave them words to learn. When Grace got home, she seemed sad. "What's the matter?" asked Ma. "Raja said I couldn't be Peter Pan because I'm a girl." "That just shows what Raja knows," said Ma. "A girl can be Peter Pan if she wants to." Grace cheered up, and then later she remembered something else. "Natalie says I can't be Peter Pan because I'm black," she said. Ma looked angry at that. But before she could speak, Nana said, "It seems Natalie is another one who don't know nothing. You can be anything you want, Grace, if you put your mind to it." On Saturday, Nana told Grace they were going out, and in the afternoon they took a bus and then a train into town. Nana took Grace to a grand theater, and the sign outside read, "Rosalie Wilkins in Romeo and Juliet," in sparkling lights. "Are we going to the ballet, Nana?" asked Grace. "We are, honey, but first I want you to look at this picture." Grace looked up and saw a beautiful young ballerina in a tutu. Above the dancer, it said, "Stunning New Juliet." "That one is little Rosalie from back home in Trinidad," said Nana. "Her granny and me, we grew up together on the island. She's always asking me if I want tickets to see her Rosalie dance, so this time I said yes." After the ballet, Grace played the part of Juliet, dancing around the room in an imaginary tutu. "I can be anything I want," she said. On Monday, the class met for auditions to choose who was best for each part. When it was Grace's turn to be Peter, she knew exactly what to do and all the words to say. She'd been Peter Pan all weekend. She took a deep breath and imagined herself flying. When it was time to vote, the class chose Raja to be Captain Hook, Natalie to be Wendy, and there was no doubt who would be Peter Pan. Everyone voted for Grace. "You were fantastic," whispered Natalie. Did whisper too. The play was a big success, and Grace was an amazing Peter Pan. After it was all over, she said, "I feel as if I could fly all the way home." "You probably could," said Ma. "Yes," said Nana. "If Grace put her mind to it, she can do anything she wants." And that's a story for her future and ours.
Thank you, Sharon. And now we'll do the children's recessional. Let's see. Anybody want to pose as a child? So we'll skip that. Oh, are you going to pose as a child? Okay. All right. So we'll sing "Go Now in Peace." Now in peace, go now in peace. The love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. So we will now have a few moments for meditation, reflection, and prayer. The singing bowl will lead us into silence. After the silence, you're invited to join in the song "Spirit of Life," and the words will be on the screen. Spirit of life, come to me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow with the wind, sighs in the sea. As mentioned earlier, Unitarian Universalists have a wide array of beliefs, and the speakers at our Sunday services come from many traditions. Here to share their own thoughts today is Reverend Sharon Dittmar.
I chose to marry amazement. I chose other ideas first. I actually tried preparing for the worst. That's an oldie and goodie from my childhood. Interestingly, though, it didn't protect me from what could and did go wrong. Turns out I really wasn't imaginative enough. Beyond that, it was truly exhausting and depressing, remaining vigilant, focused on doomed potential futures. After I went through this phase, I actually tried denial for a while, and that got me into flat-out trouble, not attending to the obvious and the necessary. Much later in life, I chose a middle way that I keep to this day. Aware of the valley of loss and pain on one side, which is always with us, and every gift and opportunity on the other, also with us. Then between them rests a middle way, a chosen path of present wonder, amazement, and gratitude. I served as a parish minister for 19 years, and something that I learned is, as the great Dr. Abraham Joshua Heschel said in his Yom Kippur essay, quote, "Scratch the skin of any person and you come across sorrow, frustration, unhappiness. People are pretentious. Everybody looks proud inside. He is heartbroken." From the inside seat of parish ministry, I watched apparently successful members and their families struggle with life-threatening illnesses, addiction, affairs, financial distress, and sometimes ruin, traumatic injury and accidents, dementia, death, even the death of children before the parents. Something which I will just never understand. It all can happen. I have been with people as it all has happened. And it was from this seat with them, as my teachers, that I learned I could never prepare for all the possibilities, nor know which ones to expect when, if ever, might become part of my personal story. Early in my ministry, I visited an older couple in the hospital. You must imagine baby minister me, 30 years old, no gray hair, not yet ordained, in a chaplain residency program in Boston, Massachusetts. The woman said to me, looking at her dying husband, "How could this happen to us? We were missionaries." I remember simultaneously realizing death is inevitable and uncontrollable, a hungry bear in autumn, and that no good works nor beneficial God offers immortality in this life. I also realized, looking into her grieving face, that there was nothing for me to say other than, "I am sorry. This must be very hard for you." Bad things happen to good people, and wonderful things happen to people who behave very badly. From this, I have concluded that neither I nor anyone else is fully in control. Rather, we are in a river of life, and there are floods and droughts and lazy days and seasonal changes. We can put up some guardrails, things like life insurance, health insurance. We can write wills. We can ask for help as often as we need it, even to the, quote, annoyance of others, whether they be financial advisors or medical providers or therapists, or just family members. But when the lights go out, when the hungry bear comes, we will not have prepared for everything. Attempting to be fully prepared is exhausting. It requires constant depressing vigilance, imagining future harms, and all that time spent in these thoughts separates us from the people and experiences present in this very day. It's a deadening way to live and a great way to ruin the possible now. A few years ago, I took part in a leadership program offered in my city. We were asked to do an exercise that I frankly hated. We were instructed to walk around to 30 people we had just met, look them in the eye, and say either, "I trust you," or "I don't trust you." I know neither the benefit nor the purpose of this exercise, and I certainly remember its multiple cringeworthy moments. Beyond that, though, and more importantly, I remember the response of one classmate. This classmate, the shortest man in the class, who lives in a world that values tallness, one who could be considered vulnerable given his size, who had to actually look up to everyone in the eye when he spoke, said, "I trust you." When the instructor later asked him why he did this, he replied, "It doesn't matter if I trust you. I trust myself, and I trust myself to figure it out." He changed the frame of the entire exercise to empower himself. Much later, I learned that he actually grew up as an immigrant in a biracial family amidst poverty and multiple challenges, and then made a series of mistakes like we all do, and he figured it out. He figured his way through. These days, he does not waste time remaining vigilant and worrying about the future. He chooses to name his frame and believes that when problems arise, he will figure them out. So he chooses to live loud and proud and have a lot of fun. It's a choice he makes based not on ignorance or denial, but knowledge, experience, and a commitment to the present. It's amazing to me in retrospect how one awkward exercise could teach me the importance of choosing my own frame. What I learned from all these teachers I just told you about is to love the now, to dig in deeply, to savor it, to make time for it and family and friends and fun, building community, living into my own joy, relishing the unique me that will not be replaced. When I became a minister, I used to see this quote by the writer and literature professor Joseph Campbell everywhere I turned: "Follow your bliss." If you were alive 30 years ago and reading, you might have seen it as well. I don't see this quote on walls so much anymore, if ever, but I think Campbell was on to something. In the words of theologian and civil rights leader Howard Thurman, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. What makes me come alive is wonder, and I find it in the present, the eternal now. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a siblinghood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each flower, or each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. In each name, a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does toward silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life, I was married to amazement. I took the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I've made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. I want to be married to amazement. I want to take the world in my arms. I don't want to simply visit the world. I want to go out and submerge myself in its wonder. To do this, I must take one day at a time and live in the present, which, as I've told you, is not easy for me. But here's something I learned from my colleague, Phil Lund. It's an exercise he taught me, a walking, moving exercise. So whenever I go out for a stroll, you could do it. However, I consider these 6 things: sight, sound, smell, sense, sky, and stance. I look at my surroundings. I listen. I inhale deeply to smell. I feel the air on my skin, the sense. Is it humid or crisp or cold? I look at the sky and I feel my body, my stance. If you try this exercise, please adapt it to whatever level of mobility and sensory function available to you. And that, of course, varies for all of us and will continue to vary throughout our lives. I used to walk with my head down, actually lost in thought. I watched my feet a lot, generally thinking about the past or future. But with this exercise, I am in the present. I smell rain in the air or the decaying earth that lets me know summer is ending. I experience the quality of the air. I see the leaves drop and bud and flower again in the spring. When walking with me, one needs to put up with my shouts of delight while I see things and hear and touch and smell and feel. I notice how my body feels. Is it stiff? Is it flexible? Is it uneven? I check my stance and sometimes I find out I'm limping and I think, why am I limping? And then I do like a body check. Where's my body in the present? And at least once on every walk, I look up at the sky. Is it a clear blue sky or a foggy sky? Is it overcast? Or are there puffy evening clouds just letting in that last pink shaft of light? It's when I look at the sky that I'm filled with the most wonder. And I think of what a gift it is to be alive and how everything changes and nothing is given. Every walk is a new discovery, a new adventure, even if it is on the same path. And I am reminded that every moment passes, every moment, the bad ones, the good ones, even the great ones. This has taught me to be more grateful then for what is and to remember. So honor the now, and give and receive love where I find it. I remind myself nothing is given, and then reach out for what is now. I don't want to mislead you into thinking that because I choose wonder and the present, it is all wonderful all the time. I too have losses and grief. I worry about the state of American democracy and the war in Ukraine. I worry about deforestation and species extinction. I worry about armed rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo and how we live in a country, America, that has chosen to incarcerate Black, brown, and poor people. I worry about my spectacularly crabby, difficult, and failing mother. And while writing this sermon, actually in the midst of writing the sermon, I received a text from my sister letting me know someone very important to us had died. I too am scared. I too am heartbroken. 19th century essayist and philosopher Henry David Thoreau wrote about wanting to, quote, suck out all the marrow of life. Now, for him, this included living a quiet, somewhat self-reliant life. I don't want to delude you. He was into self-reliance, but he got a lot of help when he was living his quiet life on Walden Pond in Concord, Massachusetts. My definition is a bit different than his. I encourage you to explore your own. But I understand wanting to suck the marrow out of life in my own chosen way. I recently watched a video by slam poet Andrea Gibson. It's an older video. In it, they speak of going home with a woman, and before their first kiss, the woman runs to get a stethoscope so that Andrea can hear the woman's heartbeat faster as they kiss. Story is just so beautiful to me. What a delightful way to suck the marrow out of life with one kiss. I want to hear it so closely. I want to hear how your heart beats faster when we kiss. It is so present to the moment, so simple, so possible, so blissful, so alive. Here's a tweet from Andrea Gibson from just this past week. They say, awkwardness is my new drug of choice. Nothing gets me higher than uncomfortable situations. In today's newsletter, I wrote about how I've been on a mission to embarrass myself regularly. Have a beautifully awkward day, everyone. Heart emoji. Her newsletter from September 13th contains this story. Years ago on tour in Europe, my friends and I dared our friend Katie to walk through a crowded travel plaza with a 20-foot strand of toilet paper dragging from her shoe, complaining loudly in a deep Midwestern accent about how there was no place in the world good as America. She made a humiliating spectacle of herself. We were high on that embarrassment for days. There are just so many ways to live in wonder and bliss, to be high on embarrassment, laughter, to be alive as the world collides around us. I hope for each of us that we take care during the hard times and are present to our true feelings about it, and that we reach for the present wonder as often as possible, maybe even experiment with humiliating spectacle and awkwardness. Maybe be curious and find some wonder. However you do it, I hope you make it a great day. May it always be so.
Well, thank you, Sharon Dittmar, for sharing your thoughts. Most weeks, this congregation and the work we do is supported by the voluntary generosity of all who contribute. The offering is a sacrament of the free church. You may place your donation in the plate on the way out, or use the QR code on the screen, or donate via our website. As we enjoy the music, the offering will be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared hopes and values. We thank you for these gifts. May we use them wisely in the service of our congregation and our community. Just some announcements. October 27th, there will be a coffee house, and Tim was going to share about that.
I'm Tim Katie. We are having what we call a coffee house, which may or may not at the hour, it will start at 6:30, so you may not want coffee at that time. But we've done this before, and it was, I think, enjoyed by everybody who came, and they're asking for you to come and participate. I'm also still looking for people who might want to perform. If you have something that a favorite poem, you have a favorite story, you like to sing, you like to play an instrument, these would be so happy to hear from you. I'll make sure that we'll put the information out, and if you actually check the e-blast, the information is on there. Just
And we're planning snacks so nobody will starve to death. And next Sunday is our remembrance and sharing service, where we remember somebody in our lives that has passed on. And are we doing pictures? I know in the past we were.
We're bringing in stuff for an alternate table.
Okay.
I don't see the meeting yet legally. Okay, and I think we had some butterfly maybe? Yes.
Oh.
And actually, yeah, so we've got, two alternates out here for our two members that we've lost, Pastor Jen and Sharon. So please, there are paper there for you to leave a memory, on their little altars. And then also, yes, please do bring in any mementos you have. We are making butterflies. We want to put your mementos with the butterflies if possible, but if not, we will have a remembrance table, where you are able to leave those for next week's service. If you're not able to come next week, but you want to have a butterfly, I am around making those today, so we'll make sure I hang those up for you.
And also on October 29th is the Death Cafe. Kay Witt is organizing that.
So at 1 o'clock in the fellowship hall, we're going to have a death cafe. And what a death cafe is where you talk about death and dying, your fears, your thoughts, your experiences. And my favorite thing to say is talking about death won't kill you.
And also on October 29th, Gail Renfro, who is a very busy member, is doing special Halloween tarot card reading.
No, I moved it because of everything
else. Okay, so we're not doing that. And we are always open to new membership. If you have questions about Unitarian Universalism or about joining this congregation, please speak to someone on our membership team. And is there somebody on? Sharon? Or you can email us, but we can tell you the email. I won't read it. I never would remember. You may find out more about us, including community news, by reading our weekly email updates, by looking at the bulletin board, and by following us on Facebook, YouTube, and reading something. Anyway, we do have a website started. And our last hymn is page 38 in the gray hymnal. So we'll do that. 38. Our final reading is really from Tim McGahee. He's reading a poem, Make Hay While the Sun Shines, by David J. Cable.
Actually, before I start, I thought it was interesting because I've heard that phrase for years. I thought it actually was written by someone in the 16th century, but John Hayward in 1546 published a book called A Dialogue Containing the Number and Effect of All the Proverbs in the English Tongue. He wrote that, and some of the phrases you'll recognize, like haste makes waste, 2 heads are better than 1, a penny for your thoughts, no man ought to look a given horse in the mouth. And the title of the poem, Make Hay While the Sun Shines. Make hay while the sun shines, that old maxim you'll find true. Do not put off today, thinking tomorrow will do. Make hay while the sun shines. It's a saying of old. If you'll follow the advice, it'll be worth more than gold. Yes, work while the sun shines. That is the way, for tomorrow may be a rainy day. If you put it off, your hay may get wet, then you'll be in an awful fret. Make your life to shine in doing good deeds. You'll find plenty of work, plenty that needs. The good you may do in the young part of life will help you to conquer your trials and strife. Make hay in the sunshine while you take hold. Lay up of old age, you may live to be old. Make hay in life's sunny hours and not wait for coming showers. Improve your time in your younger days. You've no lease on your life, the big book says. The sunshine of life is the time to make hay. If you let the time slip away until it's too late, then when you get old, you'll ponder your fate. Better work over hours and work every day. Then you'll feel glad when young you made hay.
Thank you, Tim. After the service, you're invited to join us in the fellowship hall. We're having a potluck today for snacks, beverage, and friendly conversation. We hope to see you all there. We now bid farewell to those who have joined us online. We hope you found this service meaningful, and we invite you to join us again. Be well and go in peace. And now we're going to have